Welcome to History's Greatest Punchline. In this show, we explore history through the people who shaped it. These folks have left a lot of profound, maybe foolish, at times hilarious remarks, and by the end of this show, we'll invite you to help us rank what truly stands as history's greatest punchline. My name's Takumi.
My name is Max.
And welcome. How are you, Max?
I'm good. I learned a lot last episode. I remember the teeth.
Yeah, that was the punchline of last episode, the fact that the Jomon people would remove their teeth when something good happens.
How much teeth are we going to be getting this episode?
Not much teeth, unfortunately, but a lot of other cool things and a few more connections to the Jomon era. So I do heavily recommend the folks watching this episode to maybe give the Jomon episode a watch, as there are a lot of ties from that era to this era. Without further ado, let's begin talking about the time frame of the Yayoi period. So sources say that the Yayoi period started in 300 BCE and ended in 300 CE, which is great because it's easy to remember, right? It's 300 to 300. However, others argue that the Yayoi period in fact started in 1000 BCE because archaeologists have found Yayoi artifacts that originate from this time. The people who say that the Yayoi period started in 300 BCE say that because 300 BCE is when Yayoi culture was believed to become more widespread in the Japanese peninsula. So, do you remember why the Jomon period was called Jomon?
No.
They were named after Jomon pottery.
Oh, right, yeah.
That was discovered. Yeah, from that
I remember
time.
the pottery.
Huge, yeah. And similarly, Yayoi period gets its name from Yayoi Pottery. These pots looked much simpler and not intricate compared to the Jomon pots, which is why the Yayoi didn't get its name from its unique characteristics like the Jomon pots did, but they were named after the location the Yayoi pots were discovered in, which was Yayoi Town in Tokyo. So yeah, search the Yayoi pots up, man. They're like very simple looking pots.
Yeah, I'm looking at them right now. There's not a lot going on. I mean, in some photos, there's like, there's some like texture to them a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
I dig that.
They kind of just seem like what you'd expect when you search pots.
Yeah, it doesn't really compare to the Jomon.
If the Yayoi pots were something that evolved from the Jomon pots, we would see a gradual aesthetic and structural change, but this is not the case. In addition, Yayoi pots resemble the pots discovered in China. This, along with numerous other facts, lead archaeologists to believe that an entirely new ethnic group arrived in Japan from the Korean peninsula between 1000 to 300 BCE. These are the Yayoi people that we've been talking about, and they give the name of this period, or I guess that's not true. The Yayoi town gave them their name. Nevertheless, they are the true catalyst for this new period of Japanese culture, Japanese history.
Did the Yayois have any of those like weird little alien dudes? Because right now I'm Team Jomon. Like I'm Team Jomon.
You're Team Jomon. Jomon's more interesting.
Oh, you're just saying that like flat out? You don't?
No. That's
cool?
what you think.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So far, the Yayoi people are just like these invaders.
But these guys, were they really? They were like straight up invaders. The Yayois.
So okay, this is very good because this is what we're the next topic of conversation. We actually don't know why the Yayoi people came, but we got theories, right? One theory is China at the time was extremely advanced. This is around the time where I'm gonna butcher his name, but Qin Shi Huang, the first emperor to unified China, and people think because China had so much war, people from China escaped into the Korean peninsula and ultimately to Japan. Yeah. So here's a question. So I'm Asian, right? I'm Japanese, and you're white.
Okay, that's
You
it.
wanna, yeah,
Why?
you're white. You're the like maybe like the whitest dude I
Why
know.
why do you get to be Japanese and I'm just white? That's not how that works.
That's so. What are you?
Um, American.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Nah. But like from an American Canadian who's happens to be white,
Mhm.
can you like distinguish like Asian people, like their ethnicity from looking at them?
Um, okay, how do I say this without like getting in trouble?
Bro, this is my favorite question.
So I can. I totally can. I can't like say
Can?
it's yeah, I can. I can.
Oh,
I'm
you
not
can.
gonna
Okay.
I'm not gonna act like it's easy. But like I can.
Okay.
I feel like once I hear their name
Oh,
that's when I can
gotcha.
be like, "Oh yeah." You know what I mean?
Yeah. But like
Especially
just
last
from
name.
looking at them, can you tell,
I
or is that hard?
I don't I if I'm being completely honest, I don't think I could do it. Like if you just put
Gotcha.
two random yeah. I'd need to know
Gotcha.
like their like last name and then I'd be like, "Oh yeah."
Gotcha. Gotcha. I think for me, when I could tell someone is Japanese from their facial structures, I feel like on average, Japanese people have larger eyes and
Mm.
sharper nose. And there's a surprising reason to this. The Jomon people, they have genetics coming from the ancient northern, what was their name? Siberians. So the Jomon people looked more European than Asian,
Mm.
whereas the Yayoi people looked more like the stereotypical Asian. They had like skinnier eyes, a flatter nose, and the mix of these two ethnic groups is what creates the modern day Japanese people.
I'm looking at like a comparison right now between Yayoi face and Joman face, and this Joman
Oh,
dude, like he literally just looks like an American.
I remember I was talking to this one person, and she told me the way she distinguishes Japanese people versus South Koreans or Chinese people is Japanese people are the only Asians that make facial hair work.
And that's because
Versus,
of like the facial structure.
look, I don't know that this is her opinion, but there might be a correlation there, right? Because the Jomon people were more hairy, and that Japanese people of today might take on that genetic.
Mm. I'm
So
looking. I googled
quite
Chinese man
interesting.
full beard. That's what I'm looking at right now.
Chinese.
There's some handsome dudes here that are rocking some facial hair, but I don't know. That's her opinion. You know what I mean?
Yeah. What do you think? Look at that. Japanese people facial hair.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, this is what you got. This first one right here. Are we looking at the same thing? The
I
stash
don't
and then
know. It must be. This guy's pretty handsome.
the um the thing on
Bro,
the
wait,
chin.
dude, do you see the guy, this like old photo with like the mustache going like
Yeah.
horizontally?
Oh my god! Wait, who
That's
is this
crazy,
guy?
dog.
We gotta do an
Holy
episode
shit.
on this guy. Look
That's
at all his
insane,
medals.
yo.
Look at all his fucking
Yo.
medals.
Oh, bro, I see him. Shogun Toranaga.
Oh,
Yeah, good
Tanaka.
looking man.
This is us. This episode has just become us looking at hot dudes.
So, going back to how agricultural tools were discovered from the Yayoi period, bronze and iron as well were introduced sometime during this period, and they were probably brought over from China, which we'll get back to later as well.
Mm.
So we got what? Agricultural tools, we got bronzeware, ironware, and we also got these Yayoi potteries. What is arguably the biggest thing that the Yayoi people brought over is, what do you think, Max?
Thinking, is it a tool?
No, it is not a tool.
Is it is it like a method of doing something?
It is not a method, it's tangible.
It's a tangible item,
It's tangible. Yep,
property.
property.
Is it living?
I'd say it's not, but some people might argue it is. But
What?
it was living at one point. But for this context, I'd say no.
What is it? Dinosaurs? What the fuck are you talking about? Sushi.
So close. So close. What's bro? It's one of the two, right? What makes sushi?
Salmon.
No, salmon was not brought over. We fucking have rivers and shit.
What'd you say? What's in sushi?
What makes sushi a sushi, bro?
Oh, like a knife?
When you eat a sushi, what do you eat?
Salmon.
Yeah, sure. So there's fish.
I get like a spicy salmon roll. That's my order. There's
Spicy
fish.
salmon roll. Yeah, there's fish. There's the goodies.
There's the wrap, which is seaweed.
Yeah, seaweed. But it's not just fish and seaweed, is it?
There's cucumber. I like cucumber in mine.
Yeah, there's good cucumber's good. Cucumber's
And
good,
rice
but
on the outside.
rice. There you go.
I
Rice.
said rice.
You did?
I don't know. Check the tape. Run it back.
Check the tape.
Okay, so
But yeah.
they invented rice.
They didn't invent rice, but rice was brought over from China.
Ah.
It is essentially the iPhone. It is the hottest shit at the time, especially
Holy.
because the Jomon people, you have to understand that these people were hunter-gatherers. The food that they were eating were like meat, berries, all things that goes bad. Whereas rice, you could preserve it as long as it is pre-threshed for like 2 years or a really long time. You could go out, not hunt anything, and still be like, well, we got rice. So the rice over like 200 years grew out and kind of like took over the Japanese archipelago. Everybody was using rice except for Hokkaido. Hokkaido, if you look at a Japanese map, is the really big island at the very top.
Oh wow, it's so pretty.
It's a really pretty place. The only thing is it's cold and it's really hard to grow rice there. So while the rest of Japan were on this rice roll, Hokkaido, they couldn't grow any rice. So they kept their Jomon roots, their Jomon way of living. And today you could see the most amount of Jomon culture in Hokkaido because the Jomons, their culture would eventually go to the Ainu people, the indigenous people of Hokkaido. So rice was great. It also cultivated Japan's very first form of society. It takes an entire community to grow and maintain rice fields, especially if you want to make a lot of it. So people began aggregating and make settlements, right? And when people come together, naturally a leader is born. While rice was for sure a godsend, it was also arguably their biggest cause of death. So let's say you are village max in Japan, right?
Right.
And you've got a rice field, you got your community, but your rice isn't doing very good. You don't have enough to feed your own village.
Damn, I'm getting cooked.
And then you see village Takumi, and we're doing great. We have so much rice, but we're not giving any of it to you. We're gonna save it up because we could save rice up. Yeah. But you got no rice. What are you gonna do?
Kill you and take your rice.
Wow, why would you do that, man?
I don't know, dude. Just share. How about that?
Essentially, that's what the Yayoi people did, right? Even Village Takumi is looking back at you being like, bro, they can't even make their own rice properly. They just got a lot of people. How about I consume your village and use you as another labor force? So there came warfare. Remember how the Jomon people, they were relatively peaceful. This is proven by their skeleton. Their skeletons are pretty clean versus the Yayoi skeletons. You could see marks of like spears being pierced, skulls being cracked by arrows. It was a bloody time.
Yeah, like right now, I don't want to kill anyone for rice, but people back then wanted to do that.
There's the Shinto culture, which is the belief that everything has either a spirit or a god to them. And this comes from the animism belief. So that's everything has a spirit to it. And the Japanese people believed in this from the Jomon period and also the Yayoi period. But the problem is, just like how currently we have nationalism, the people of this time had a godism in the sense of the towns, the villages would be like, our village is protected by the river god. What's your village being protected by? And another village would be like, our village is being protected by the mountain god. Obviously, the mountain god is cooler than your god. And then they'd fight.
Oh, they have like a god off.
Eventually, these small villages would consume each other, turning into larger towns, and then ultimately into states. So this is getting into the late Yayoi period. So the Yayoi people didn't know how to write. That wasn't a thing yet.
Tough.
So they couldn't document history, right? And the only way we know anything about Japan from this time is through Chinese literature. Most famously, the records of the Three Kingdoms, which lists the existence of about 100 states populating what they called the islands of Wa. So Japan at the time was referred to as Wa.
Wa. I like saying
And
Wa. We should bring that back.
Where are you from?
Wow.
Anyhow, amongst these 100 states, the Book of Wei talks a lot about a single state, which is probably the strongest state amongst all the others. And this kingdom is called the Yamatai kingdom.
Yamatai. I sound racist saying any word that's not English. Buenos dias. Onion haseo. You know?
You're essentially saying onion for the group. So the Yamatai kingdom, going back to, remember we're talking about the Yamatai kingdom.
The Yamatai, yeah.
Probably existed from around 100 CE to 300 CE, so late Jomon period. And the records of the Three Kingdom, specifically the Book of Wei, writes about a shamanist queen that ruled Yamatai, and her name was Himiko. And we'll talk more about her. Yeah, but I guess the first ruler of Japan was a woman. So that makes this pretty cool, you know?
How about that?
Yeah. How many other countries could say the same?
That's pretty impressive. She's got to be like
pretty cool.
One badass woman, you know?
And she's a shamaness. Boom.
What does that mean?
Like a shaman. You know, shaman? They're like
a spirits and stuff. I don't know.
Yeah. They talk to spirits but we'll talk more about her later. Right now, I want to talk about where the Yamatai was located, because this is a topic that is still debated to this day. So we don't know is the straightforward answer. A location is written on the Book of Wei, and when you follow the path written on the book, you end up in the middle of the ocean. So was Yamatai an island that sunk into the ocean? Which is, of course, highly unlikely, but really fun to think about. But the most popular theories are, one, the Kinki theory. So that is the Yamatai was located in the Kinki region. And the other one is Kyushu theory. It was located in the Kyushu region of Japan. Both have its reasons. For example, they found artifacts that were closely tied with Yamatai culture in both regions. These include like bronze mirrors and weaponry. But yeah, we still don't know. It's just kind of up there afloat. Let's talk more about Himiko, the shamanist queen.
Oh yeah.
So this character is a very popular character in Japanese history, of course. She is shrouded with mystery. Anyhow, Himiko is said to be born around 170 CE, although the exact dates are unknown. For a society surviving off of the growth of their rice fields, having good weather was crucial. And Himiko was essentially like the weather forecast lady on TV, where she would communicate with the gods using her Kido abilities. and
Whoa.
forecast whether it's going to rain soon. And if it's not going to rain, what everybody should do to cause the rain. And so everyone's kind of like, bro, we got to follow this lady.
Shit.
Which is how this period is depicted, but there's a good chance that she was just really strong too. So Himiko's shamanism, you'd think, is like everybody would be skeptical about it like we are, but actually turned out to be a big hit. It really helped people want to be under the protection of the lady with God's phone number, and this crafted a sense of unification. Himiko is well known for being someone who never showed up in public, so she never revealed herself.
Really?
Not even her courtiers would be allowed to see how she looked like. She had one younger brother who took care of everything, who'd speak to her directly and then relay her message to the public.
So she was able to be the queen and just like chill in her house?
Yeah.
What?
How awesome is that?
That's crazy.
Dude, she was remote from that time, bro. All right. So, final remarks of the Yamatai kingdom. What made the Yamatai so dangerous for the other states is that Himiko had connections with the Wei dynasty of China. She sent a messenger to Wei so that the Wei could recognize Himiko as the king of the Wa Islands. By sending a messenger, she can also send a message to the neighboring states that the Yamatai had connections to people across the ocean, and there was no telling what the Wei would do if the states laid a finger on the Yamatai. And at the time, Wei dynasty had a lot on their plates too, with like internal turmoil, etc. And so they didn't really receive the messenger and be like, oh, cool, a new country to invade. They're more like, okay, let's send them gifts and have good connections with them. Hopefully they wouldn't try to invade us. And right now we're a little too busy to invade you guys. And so the Wei dynasty also returned a lot of gifts to Japan. And this include bronze mirrors, bronze and iron, and most importantly, a gold seal that, with writing, recognizes Himiko as the official queen of Wa. So now we're going to go just on a slight tangent, but I want you to search an image of Dokyo. So that is Dokyo, and then maybe also add a bronze mirror to that.
Was a Bronzor the Pokemon based off of this?
Dude, exactly. That's where I was going to get to.
Gotcha.
Using the bronze, the Japanese people crafted a very unique looking bell. And so search Dotaku, Dotaku.
Whoa. Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. So that's bronzong, right?
Yeah. That's super cool. Wait, these are sick.
So Himiko is said to have died in the year 248 CE, and the book also records how 100 courtiers were also buried alive to assist Himiko in the afterlife. After her death, an unnamed king was brought to the throne. However, this era became an era of turmoil as the various clans before began fighting each other. Witnessing this, the Yamatai court decided to appoint someone who reminded the people of the late shamanist Queen, which became the Himiko's niece, Toyo, otherwise known as Io. She was only 13 at the time of her appointment and would continue Yamatai's ties with the Wei. We don't exactly know what happened to her afterwards, though. Now we're getting close to between 250 to 300 CE. A new culture was born at this time. All over the Japanese archipelago, we can see the emergence of massive mounds in the shape of keyholes. Its purpose, still debated to this day, these mounds would give its name to our next period in Japanese history, the Kofuns. So, that said, that is all for today's episode, the Yayoi period. I want to finish the episode off with talking about Max. What do you think is today's greatest punchline?
Oh, dude, we got a couple. I mean, we got the queen of social distancing. We got
Yeah,
just motherfuckers going out there and murdering each other for rice.
yeah, yeah.
Oh,
The
man.
rice barbarians.
The right. I mean, we got to go with that. That is
The
just
rice
ridiculous.
barbarians.
Yeah, I mean, it's one thing like if they had like treasure, but just villagers going at it over rice is crazy to me. But I guess you got to do what
Pretty
you got to
insane.
do.
I also like how each village had their own gods and they just essentially fight over that too.
Yeah.
All right, so I guess today's biggest takeaway or the greatest punchline of the Yayoi period is people killed each other over rice.
Yeah.
So, for the people visiting Japan and are interested in seeing the lives of the Yayoi people, definitely check out the Yoshinogari Historic Park in Saga Prefecture, Japan. Here you can see the Yayoi period's iconic moated settlements. These moats first started out as garbage dumps, but later transformed into an integral defensive mechanism for settlements as warfare began reigning over Japan. So they literally like stick pointy sticks in these mounds. I think I even read that like they'd pack the moats with mud so it looks like there's nothing under in it, but like once people step in it, there's like wooden spikes underneath it, and then people just like step on that. Anyhow, go check that out if you ever go to Japan.
That's so messed up. Oh my god.
I don't know. I think I read that somewhere, but I'm not 100% sure. So take that with a grain of salt.
Dark for the sunrise, clouds for a blue sky, space for the traveling star. Strong from the inside, you're still my light.